Yeah, Cam, you go ahead and start it.
Hey, Bryan, Cam from Courier Journal. The last few games, your secondary, specifically the corners too. Uh, just what have you seen from Trey and Chandler and that whole secondary that's allowed them to improve the way they have?
Man, I think a lot of it has to do with confidence a little bit. Anytime you make a couple of plays, I think that builds your confidence up for sure. No matter what, that you have the ability to make that play, and that's one thing we've been looking for is just guys taking chances and understanding where their help is, but just doing what their coach will do, and the guys have been doing it the past couple of games. And it's a thing of beauty to see. And so I think a lot of that has to do with confidence, Cam, and the guys just understanding the game plan as well as understanding the opponent. And they do a great job of studying the last couple of weeks and executing the game plan. So, but a lot of that has to do with confidence.
Go to Jody and then Michael.
Coach, when you look at Virginia Tech, I think they've played three different quarterbacks at times this year, and Herbert is one of the top guys in the country as far as rushing yards. What do they do in the running game, and kind of how do they get things going in the running game?
Well, they're going to run that ball until the cows come home a good bit of time. Coach Fuente, he wants to run the football, and they do a great job with the stretch game. No matter how they get to it, whether it's a quarterback stretch as well, they love the zone read, some counter plays here and there. But I just think their offensive line has done an awesome job, opening holes up for those guys. And at times, you may see a hole that may be there, and then the offensive lineman may, throw one of the D linemen or a linebacker out of that gap. And they just do a great job. And I think the backs do an awesome job of being patient, and finding that right hole to hit, especially in the stretch game. You see our offense running a lot. These guys do as well. But they do a great job up front, and the backs are very, very patient, as well as, the quarterback as well. Anytime he's running a quarterback stretch or the zone read type concept, he understands, what the defense is giving him, and he's doing what he's coached to do, and they're doing a great job with it. And when he drops back to pass, of course, it's like all the quarterbacks we played all year long. Those guys, he's going to pull it down and run it. And so we have to be prepared for it and limit those plays as well as explosive plays.
Michael.
Coach Brown, Michael McCammon, Cardinal Authority. Coach Satterfield mentioned the other day, and you've mentioned it as well, that it's nice getting these pass breakups. But at some point, you got to start, catching those things. We've heard from the players that they're catching them in practice. What can you do to translate that from practice into the games and start creating more turnovers?
Man, I think it's a lot to do with focus. I think sometimes the guys get so happy that ball is right there, and it's like like a piece of candy. When you're a kid, you're just ready to grab it, and you're not focused on it as much, and you may miss it. It may fall. Somebody may throw you a piece of candy. You may just not catch it. You're just so excited to catch it. But a lot of it has to do with focus. So one thing we've done this week, I said, man, we're going to catch some balls. So right now the guys are still out there practice catching balls. So we're making sure that hopefully we'll be able to get some of those balls, and doing a lot more ball drills as well. But it's just a lot to do with focus, and so hopefully we'll be able to get some this weekend. Should have had about 4 or 5 this past Saturday. So that hurts you a little bit.
Cameron.
Yeah, well, Bryan, this isn't one of my actual questions, but I'll ask you this. Was it a relief when Jack came down with that interception?
Oh, my gosh. I don't know if I hope they didn't have me on film, when Jack got the pick. It was like, thank God, it was one of those deals. But I'll tell you a funny story. When Trey dropped his interception, I was talking to the to the sideline ref, and so we were talking. I said, well, what do you say to a kid that drops something like that? Like, what do you do? He's like, Coach, I think you just got to get him on the jug machine more. So that was funny, just hearing the ref say that, it was a relief for sure. It was a relief for sure.
My actual question, I know coming out of the Notre Dame game, you said you thought the guys tackled better. How did you think they tackled against Florida State? And obviously that'll be pretty important against a guy like Herbert, who I think is up there with Hawk in terms of most explosive runs in the country.
Yes, it's going to be very, very key for us, and I thought this past game, we started out the game really, really shaky that first drive, not making those tackles. We missed a lot of tackles in that first drive. And then I think the guys settled down and then tackled really well. Florida State did a good job with a couple of scheme things early on in the game, and, we end up, making our adjustments to it. But I thought the guys tackled well overall. That's one of my buddies' coaches there, and that's one thing he said. He said he thought we tackled really well. That's what the guy said. So hopefully we continue that this week. And, we got to get those guys down on the ground because they are elusive and they are, one of the most explosive teams in the country. I mean, they're leading the conference in rushing. Their back is, leading the country in all-purpose yards, I think. And we just got to continue to do a great job of tackling, grabbing calls, and running our feet.
Jody.
Bryan, how would you assess some of the young guys that actually did get their first reps? And then in that regard, I assume Marvin was probably going to go into the game. How disappointing not to be able to get him, in there on defense, because he made a couple of really good special teams tackles before he got hurt.
Yeah, actually, Marvin was going in that same series that he got hurt on kickoff. So I'm looking at him. I said, "Hey, are you good? You ready to go?" And I could tell he wasn't ready to go. So Marvin was headed in for that game, for that series. It sucks that that injury happened to him, and our thoughts and prayers are with him. He had a successful surgery, so hopefully we'll be able to get him back in a couple of weeks and be ready to roll. But as far as some of the young guys, I mean, you're still looking at like a Dez Taylor is still playing really well for us, doing a really good job. Lovey Jenkins got in. Of course, he's one of the guys that dropped a pick, but he was where he's supposed to be. So that's a positive thing. You think Josh Minkins got in the game. He had a misfit on that long run, but he chased that cat down, and was able to limit that explosive play to being a touchdown. So we're very excited for those guys. And you think about it, KJ Cloyd got some snaps. He did really well. Got him a tackle. Was where he was supposed to be. And Greedy Vance, I mean, he's still doing, awesome things for us, and he's going to be an outstanding player for us, and he did really well. But very, very pleased with a lot of the young guys. They got some reps toward the end of the game, and even some, during the middle of the game. So we got to continue to grow those guys, and I think the future is bright, with this young group for sure.
Cam.
Bryan, when you look at, you mentioned Hooker is another mobile quarterback. You played a lot of them. Hooker is a big guy, a tall guy. Just how different is he specifically with the kind of threat of Herbert that maybe you guys have played in Jordan Travis and D'Eriq King and some of the other mobile quarterbacks?
Well, I think each one of those guys are different within their own skin. You think about D'Eriq King. He's a shorter quarterback, very, very quick, like really, really quick. You think about the kid from Sims from Georgia Tech. He's a taller guy. Kind of similar to VTech's quarterback here as well. But I think Herbert, man, he does a great job of processing, what you're doing in the secondary, and he does it really, really quickly. And he understands, okay, if you're in a two-man concept, I'm pulling the ball down and running right away. And I think they do a great job of scheming you up a little bit with some draws that are in the actual passing game, to where he can throw the football down the field, but it's also a draw that's built in just with him and the running back. So they do a great job, and he's a kid that's, I don't think he's super, super fast, but he is elusive. He will, keep the chains moving. And but he's a special talent, and we look forward to competing against him on this weekend.
Michael.
Coach, Satterfield mentioned the other day that he was pleased with the never quit mentality, and singled out at the end of the game when Rajay lost the punt, how you guys kept them out of the end zone. What's that say about this defense and their progression that they don't give up at the end?
Well, I think it's always been a process since we got here. Starting back in 2018, we got here in December, and that's been our deal. Since we got here, we don't want to have that quitters mentality. We want to make sure that we play for a full 60 minutes. So last week our message was 60 minutes of hell, and and that's the thing we kept preaching to the guys the whole game. The game's not over. The game's not over. We wanted to fight, until the very end and not give up, yards and scores and things of that nature. And the guys responded. When we got that, when we fumbled the ball on the punt return, the guys went out there, and that was our deal. We have a saying, no matter what happens within the game, we have a saying we started last year, and it's good. Good, we're back on the football field. Now we have another chance to be able to stop those guys and be able to show our talents and show what we got. So that was the mentality going back out there was good. We're back out here, now let's stop them. And but that shows a lot of growth and maturity from that group. And just so excited that the processes continue to go each and every week. We're continuing to get better. And that's an exciting thing to see, from a coach's standpoint.
All right, we'll finish it off here. Cameron, go ahead.
Yeah, Bryan, you touched on the confidence of this group. I mean, 2 pretty good games in a row, full 4-quarter performances. How have you seen the confidence with the defense show on a weekly basis, or kind of in your preparation? How have you seen their confidence, be a positive and kind of continue to grow?
In practice. It started a couple weeks ago after the Georgia Tech game. Like I told you guys said, hey, we're not as hungry as we were last year. So I think they got that bite, that fight back into them. And sometimes when you have some success, you kind of get lackadaisical a little bit. But the guys in practice, oh, my gosh, it's been awesome to see. The guys are fighting their butt off. We tackled them yesterday again. And, the guys are in practice are executing. And when they do make a mistake, they're like, all right, coach, what did I do wrong? This, that, and the other. So all of the guys, whether it's the guys that are in the game or the guys that are on the back, that are watching on the side, they're asking questions. And so when you have, a couple performances like we had to where I think the guys are averaging the last 2 games like 13 points per game or so, that's going to give you a lot of confidence. And, now you're able to go out there and say, hey, we can do this. It can be done. But practice, the main thing, Cam, is seeing the guys compete in practice within our scout team peers and understanding what these guys are trying to do and get accomplished and going full tilt. And these practices have been kind of like, these last 2 weeks, it's kind of been like how to practice where we had at App State, where guys were getting after it, every single play. And that's what you want as a defensive coach or as a coach in general. But confidence in practice, I think that's the main key.
All right, Coach, we appreciate it. Thanks.
Hey, appreciate you guys. Y'all have a good one. Happy